Now, the next thing we now want to do is we want to create our cluster. Okay, let us be on this page and then type in EMR, then open this in a new tab. Okay, we want to provision our cluster. You can see in my case I have a lot of different clusters that I've run and terminated and all of that. Okay, so the same thing we are going to be doing today. We are going to be provisioning our cluster and running, doing extraction and transformation, and then we are going to terminate our cluster when we are done with this project. Okay, guys, take note that at the end of this project, whenever you are done, make sure you terminate all whatever you have provisioned, your S3 bucket, your EMR, if you are not using them anymore. Okay, all right, you can also terminate the VPC as well. Okay, if you are not going to be using it anymore. So now you can come right here to create cluster. I'll click cluster and then I will give it a name. Okay, I'll give it a cluster name. This is what I'm giving it. Okay, now you can select which Amazon EMR release. Okay, you can see it says a release contains a set of applications which can be installed on your cluster. Remember what we said as part of the benefits of this Amazon EMR. It comes pre-installed with pre-configured with the big data framework that you want to use. Okay, so instead of you buying hardwares and all of that in your company, right, you don't have to do that. You can just use Amazon EMR to do that. Okay, you can just use Amazon EMR to process your big data, because this also helps to save you a lot of this. It saves your system admin time, right? So your system admin does not have to spend so much time configuring servers, installing softwares, debugging issues and all of that. Okay, so when you provision this, it comes with your selected application that you want to be installed on your cluster. Okay, so in the case of this, now I will click this drop down and then I will say, okay, I want this latest EMR release. I'll select that and then I would say I want to work with Spark. Remember, we want to work with Spark today. Okay, but if you want core Hadoop, if you want to work with Hadoop, you can select that. You can see when you click this, it already pre-selects the applications that are going to be installed in this cluster. If you want Flink, you select Flink. You can see it already pre-select this. HBase, Presto, you see Trino, or if you want custom AWS, right? I mean, if you want custom application, let's say you want specific ones that you want in your cluster, then you can check them right here, which is basically what we are also going to be doing today. But first of all, let us click this Spark. You can see when we click Spark, it checks this for Spark 3.4.1 and also Zeppelin. You can see that. However, because I told you guys that today also we are going to be having Jupyter Notebook in our EMR. Okay, so because of that, we need to select Jupyter Enterprise Gateway, because if you don't select that, then you will not be able to attach the Jupyter Notebook to your Amazon EMR cluster. Okay, so because of that, we are going to select this right here. Okay, I hope you guys are getting that right now. Okay, so now the next thing is, you can see that when we selected this, then it switched to custom applications for application bundle, and that is because we selected something that was not selected in this Apache Spark. You see, when you're in Apache Spark, Jupyter Enterprise Gateway is not selected, but if I select it now, then it knows that, oh, this is a custom application bundle you are trying to request, okay, that you want to be installed in your AWS EMR. Okay, so now let's go down, let's leave all these the way they are, and then in this case we are going to be choosing instant groups. So right here we are going to be selecting what instances that we want. Remember, I was telling you previously that there are different instance types that you could select based on your workload. Okay, so for primary instance, okay, that's the primary node, that's the master node. You can select what you want, the core node, and then the task node. Okay, right here. Okay, so if there is another one that is called instance fleet, it says choose any combination of instance types within each node group. Okay, but in this case we are going to be using this instance group, so I will just leave it this way, M5 extra large. But if you want other ones, you can come right here and just select whatever thing that you want. Okay. Oh, I mistakenly checked this when I clicked right here, so let us uncheck it. Okay, so uncheck this. Very good. So now let us just leave this M5 extra large the way it is. This comes with 16 gigabytes of memory. That's okay. That's okay. Then let us choose our core node. Let us also leave this as our core node. Okay, M5 extra large comes with 16 gigabytes. And then our task, remember, task is optional, like I showed you previously. So I can remove this right here. Okay, very good. Now remember one thing I also told you about using the Amazon EMR. I told you that you could set it to be auto scaling, right? So that whenever there is a peak workload, then it scales up. Whenever there is a limited workload, then it scales down. So I'm going to select this, use EMR managed scaling. That means that AWS is going to be doing that for you automatically. Okay, now for our minimum cluster size, we are going to select 3. And remember what I said, that if I select, let's say I select 3, that means that 1 is going to be master node, then 2 is going to be our core node. Okay, because remember that we have deleted task node right here. We don't want task, we only want the master, which is the primary, and the core node. Okay, so I want this to be my minimum. Okay, that means that whenever there is whenever there is a limited workload, then it can go to the minimum, right? And it will just do 1 master node and 2 core node. Okay, so what is the maximum cluster size that I want? I could say 10. Okay, and then what is the maximum core nodes in this cluster? My maximum core nodes in this cluster, I could say 8. Okay, I could say 8. Okay, so what is this saying right here? This is saying right here that if my maximum core nodes in this cluster is 8, so that means that, let's say I have a very high workload, right? I can say, okay, my workload is very high, then scale it for me to have a maximum of 8 core nodes. So it's going to scale up to 8 core nodes. Then of course you're going to be having 1 master node, right? So we can do it like that. And then maximum on-demand instances, I can also put this to be 8 right here. Okay, very good, very good. So one thing you also need to know right here is that provisioning configuration is saying that set the size of your core instance group. So you want for us to just do this manually, we can just set this manually to be 2. Okay, you can just set this manually for a start to be 2. Remember that we said minimum is 3, so I can just say, okay, make my core to be 2, when launched. Okay, Amazon EMR attempt to provision this capacity when you launch your cluster. You see that? So I can say, okay, when launched, just give me 2 of these. So if it gives me 2 of this core, then it's going to give me 1 master. So that still meets my minimum cluster size requirement. Okay, very good, guys. Now let us come here, our networking, our VPC. Remember that we just created a VPC, right? So let us come right here and we have created it already. So come to browse. This was the VPC that we created. We'll select this and then we'll say choose. You can see that immediately we chose that, it populates this with our with the subnet. Okay, now I hope you guys are getting this right now. Okay, now we can then come down and say manually terminate cluster. We don't want to manually terminate our cluster. We want to automatically terminate the cluster if our cluster is idle for specific number of hours. So I will select this. So you can, if you like, you can say after 4 hours. Okay, it's going back to manual. I know the reason. Just come right here, select, maybe just select 1 day first, and then you can come back and change. You can go back and change it later. Okay, so what this is saying is that if you want to, let's say you want to work on this project and you want to spend 4 or 5 hours on it, right? And you want to make sure that you terminate this EMR after specific number of hours. Okay, you can set it right there. You can say it after 10 hours, or you can say after say 9 hours, right? You can say after 9 hours. Okay, so now, but in my own case, I will just say after say I can say after 2 days. I can say after 2 days, that's 2 days, 1 hour. Okay, and the reason I'm doing so is because I'm creating a video right here. Okay, so I don't know when I'm going to finish with this project. Okay, while I'm working on this project, I may have some other errands that I need to run. Okay, so maybe it might take me 1 day or 2 days. So, and I don't want to be spinning up and spinning down each time. But take note that if you leave it still running, you are going to be accruing some expenses right there, some cost right there. So be wise in what you are doing. But because I'm making a video right here, I want to make sure that I have a good continuity. Okay, so that's why I will just say 2 days. Okay, however, by the time I'm done with everything, then I'm going to terminate it either myself or it terminates itself after these 2 days. Okay, so now check this use termination protection, make sure it's checked. Okay, let us come down right here. Now there is something that you see right here, guys. So it's a cluster logs. So all the logs that is being generated by this EMR needs to be saved somewhere in your S3 bucket. So if you want, you can create a particular S3 bucket for this case and then browse to that S3 bucket so that you can put it right here. If I say browse, you can see I can select whichever one I want. But in this case, you can see that I've not created an S3 bucket where I want to save the logs, but I will let Amazon AWS create it for me. Okay, so and this is what is going to create, because if you come to my S3 bucket right here, guys, you can see if I refresh this page, you can see that I only have 4 S3 buckets right here. Okay, but AWS is going to create this for me, and this is where all the logs from this EMR are going to be saved. Okay, very good, guys, very good, guys. So now I will come right here. Okay, I will come right here and I will create an Amazon EC2 key pair for SSH to the cluster, because if you want to SSH into this cluster, then you need to create a key pair. Although in today's video, I don't think we are going to be SSHing into our cluster, but I would like to create it so that you guys can see what we are doing. So to create an Amazon EC2 key pair right here, I will just click create key pair. If you already have a key pair that is already created and you want to use already, you can just come right here, click your mouse right here, and then you can see for me I have different key pairs right here. Okay, so I can select whichever one I want to use, but I don't want to use any of these. Therefore I'll click create key pair. So when I click that, then it takes me right to this page so that I can then create a key pair. I'll give it this name. So I'm giving it this name right there. Then I'm leaving every other thing the way it is, but I will select .pem. Okay, and then I will do create key pair. Okay, so it has created the key pair. So it's created one file right here inside this key pair, and then also it downloaded another key pair, a file, the .pem file, inside my downloads folder. Okay, if inside my downloads folder, that's the same thing it's going to do for you also. So now I can then come right here and look for that one that we just created. We can see we don't see it right here, but we can come right here and say browse, because it's not refreshed yet. So I can say browse. We should be able to see it here. Okay, we don't see it here yet, but we can click this refresh, let it refresh. Now we have refreshed. Now you can see it. This is it right here. So I will check it and then I will say choose. Now we have that right there. Okay, very good, guys. Now another thing we want to create is what we call Amazon EMR service role. Okay, you can choose an existing service role for EMR if you have that already, but I don't have, so I would say create a service role. So if I click that, you can see right here that it already selected the VPC that we created. Remember, we created VPC, so it already put the VPC and the subnet. Okay, so it's going to create that service role inside that VPC, right? You see, say let Amazon EMR create a new service role so that you can grant and restrict access to resources in other AWS services. Okay, so now let us select security group. When you click this, you should be able to see that VPC that you created before, because that VPC also comes with a default security group. Okay, so I will check this VPC right here. So when you check it, you can see that it has put that security group right there. Okay, very good, guys. Now another thing is what we call instance profile. Okay, create an instance profile. It says let Amazon EMR create a new instance profile so that you can specify a custom set of resources for it to have access in Amazon EMR. Okay, so in the case of this one, I don't have any instance profile, so I will, therefore I cannot choose existing instance profile. I will check this. Okay, look at something. Say the instance profile assigns a role to every EC2 instance in a cluster. Okay, so now we have this instance, then we'll say let us give it access to all S3 buckets. Okay, so we are saying all S3 buckets in this account with read and write access. Okay, now I hope you guys are getting this right now. Okay, very good. I think we are pretty much done. Again, guys, this service role would help to create and manage resources in our EMR. Okay, now I think we are pretty much done. Let us create cluster and see what happens. And usually creating cluster takes more than 7 minutes. So when we create this cluster and we see that everything is going well, what we will do is I will stop the video and come back to it whenever the cluster has been created. So let us create this cluster. Create cluster. You can see it's trying to create something right there. Let us go up. Is there any error? No error yet. Okay, you can see 0%. I will scroll up. You can see 67%. Okay, now it's working. You see, say your cluster, remember this is the name we gave it, has been successfully created. So now it is created, but it's still starting up, it's still booting up. Okay, it's going to boot up, initialize, and every other installations that needs to be done on the cluster is going to be done. Okay, remember that it's going to provision for us the clusters that we have requested. Remember, we requested for a minimum of 3 nodes, right? And we selected our core node that manually on the launch of our cluster that it should be 2 core nodes. So that means we should be getting 2 core nodes and 1 master for a start, right? So this is going to be starting, it's going to be booting up and installing all the different softwares that needs to be installed. Okay, and this is going to take 7 minutes or more, sometimes takes 10 minutes and all of that. Okay, so I'm going to stop this video and then come back to this video. However, before I stop this video, if you have not subscribed to our channel, go ahead and subscribe right now. While this EMR is running, go and click that like button, okay? And also subscribe to our channel. Also click on the notification bell so that you don't miss any of our videos. Also put your comment in the comment section below. While this is running, booting up, go ahead right now and put your comment or whatever question that you also might have. All right, guys, I'll see you when this cluster is provisioned. All right, see you guys later. Very good, guys. Now you guys can see that our EMR has been provisioned. Okay, you can see now it says waiting. Okay, now you can see that the elapsed time is basically 12 minutes right here. Okay, 11 minutes 59 seconds. That's 12 minutes. You can see that it takes some time. Okay, you should also be seeing, such when you are provisioning yours. Now, what is the next thing to do? Okay, remember that we want to extract data from Redfin, and I said we're going to be using Jupyter Notebook. Right now, we've provisioned the EMR. Now we need to make our Jupyter Notebook to be running in that EMR. Okay, however, before you can be able to run the Jupyter Notebook, you need to create what we call Studio. Okay, you need to create what is called Studio.